In 1973, the Supreme Court voted 7-2 on the legalization of abortion. Roe v. Wade shook the foundations of the United States.
As far as abortion at the time, I think we were all shocked at the Roe v. Wade ruling. And a lot of us were in disbelief that this could be legal, but the prevailing thought about abortion, I believe, around me was that it was a bad thing, but that, in fact, there was nothing we could do about it. And my history is I had been a very young widow, and after about 3.5 years, I remarried, and subsequently in a couple of years, I was pregnant for another child, which would make 5 children at home. And I was sitting with a friend one day, and she said to me, she's a highly educated lady, and she said, "You don't have to have this baby." And I just was shocked. "What do you mean I don't have to have this baby?" "Well, I wouldn't have it," she said. And then it struck me very hard that, in fact, people I know think this is acceptable. People in my socioeconomic class were doing this. They were having abortions just because it wasn't convenient. And one Sunday on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, there was a presentation against abortion, and we were given materials from the Christian Action Council, and I read those. I absorbed those. I was even more determined that we needed to start a local CPC.
Charlotte, determined to start a local CPC, in 1984 shared this desire with Kathy Andre and Mindy Schaffner, who also felt the need to get involved, and asked them to help organize this effort. The first fundraising banquet in April 1985 raised some greatly needed funds to assist in renting and refurbishing a vacant suite in Bryan, and eventually hiring a director. In January 1986, a hotline was established in a private home to help women until the new center was ready for business. And in July of 1986, the new CPC was ready for business.
Why did we start in Bryan? Because that's where Rick Jones and Cindy went to churches in Williams County, and the people that helped me, Carl and Kathy Andre and Mike and Nancy Mickelson, and Rick and Cindy Jones, we all started this, and we were all basically working out of Williams County, so Bryan was the most likely place to start. When I had started the CPC, I was told I shouldn't do this by people close to me, that we weren't a people of political action, you could say, and that this was a kind of an embarrassment, and it was just not the right thing to be doing. But I had to weigh that conflict against what the Holy Spirit was leading in my life, and I knew I had to continue with this. I didn't mean any disrespect to those who were advising me that way, but I just knew I had to follow what the Lord said. And my best memory then was the very first fundraiser that we had at the 4-County Joint Vocational School. And all of the hundreds of people that came out, people that I knew, people that had been close to my family when I was a child, people from the same background as myself. I mean, I could have cried, and I could still cry thinking of it. And I went and shook their hands and gave them hugs until the meeting started. I was so overwhelmed with the amount of people that were ready to make a move, to encourage girls and women to choose life, and that they would be there in a tangible way to support these girls and women.
Near the end of the year in 1986, they hired Linda Payton as their first director. They began self-pregnancy testing and counseling for women who found themselves in a crisis pregnancy. In January of 1987, the Wauseon Center was opened. Linda remained director for 8 months until she married and moved out of the area. In September of 1987, Judy Van Wagner became the new executive director.
In 1987, I was working in this corporation, and I realized that God was calling me away from that. And I just knew that I needed to get into ministry. Well, what popped into my mind first was what I'd felt, that calling that I'd felt to the CPC. And it had been 2 years, and I wondered what was going on. And so I called Mindy, and I said, you know, Mindy, if you ever need a new director, they'd had one for about 8 months. She was just had started. And I said, if you ever need a new director, would you call me, because I'd like to apply for the job. And she said, how did you know? And I said, know what? And she said, our director just quit. She's getting married, she's leaving. We need a director. And I said, really? No, I did not know that. But she said, come in today and get an application and get ready to interview.
Even before Judy Van Wagner became the executive director, while attending a table at the annual walkathon, a woman approached her with a question.
And I was standing by the prize table when some woman walked up to me and she said, hi, I'm Sandy Potter, and I just wonder if you're going to open an office in Defiance. And I said, not quite on staff yet, but do we need an office in Defiance? And she said, oh yes, we do. And I said, well, I'm certainly open to the possibility. I start next week. Why don't we get together and meet? So we did.
Soon after Judy became the executive director, a new clinic was opened in Defiance. With donated office equipment and a 3-room office, the Defiance location opened for business in December 1987.
As far as Wauseon goes, the Wauseon office was open before I came in 1987. It was a very small office in the basement of an old building downtown Wauseon near the railroad. It was not a good location. I started looking for a building right away, and in a short time, the first year in 1988, we found another building. It wasn't a great location, but better, and we kept moving up. So for the next 20 years or so, we found newer buildings that were bigger and better, more visible, until we built a building. We started looking at buildings in 2011 after a 2010 benefit where we raised enough money to buy a used building. And so the office manager, Wanda, and I started looking for buildings in 2011, but it wasn't until 2012 that God really came through and we made the plans to build a building there. So that's Wauseon's history. You know, it took years of time from 1987 until 2012. As far as Napoleon goes, the board had been wanting for years to have an office in Napoleon. And there was a need there, but most of the Henry County clients were being seen in other offices, and so Henry County United Way was helping us fund those clients, and that's all the support we had for Henry County. But it wasn't until a few months after we had the open house for the Wauseon, the beautiful Wauseon facility on Airport Highway, that God told me, you got to get this Napoleon office soon, open soon. And I thought at the time, man, I am so worn out from all that whole year of trying to get this building up, because it took us about a year. I talked to a man who had a building for rent that was a gynecology clinic, perfectly suited to CPC and women's needs, with medical exam rooms and everything. I mean, it was perfect. The rent was just a wonderful amount. I mean, a lot more than $150, but really cheap for Napoleon. And so went back to the board with funding from the United Way. They gave us enough to set up in Napoleon. And in 2013, we had an open house and opened that office in Napoleon. That's the only one we don't own, but it's a beautiful office, and it was just a privilege being involved in all the openings of these offices and seeing how God works to meet the needs of more and more clients everywhere we go. So we're in all 4 counties now and praising God for that.
Shortly after starting a new clinic, God opened the doors to reach Northwest Ohio in a new way.
I was approached by a couple of our CPC volunteers in September of 1987. That was when I started. And, you know, I had just come on staff, and they called me and said, we've just been to a seminar in Chicago on sexuality, and it's an abstinence program, and we'd like you to hear about it. I was able to make inroads there in every direction in the 4-county area. And by the end of that time, I had 5 schools that agreed to be like a pilot program for this project. For Sex Respect was what the curricula was called. And then I named the program Project Respect.
Project Respect is a sexual risk avoidance and character education program that we are basically the educational arm of the CPC Women's Health Resource of Northwest Ohio. So we go into schools all across Northwest Ohio, and all of our services are free to the students. And depending on the age group, we're doing sexual risk avoidance or abstinence-only education, or we're doing character education with students and helping to establish important character traits and doing different activities and ways to illustrate those things to help lay a foundation for when they would potentially be receiving abstinence education later on.
The overall message that they give is so important for kids these days to understand that they have choices, and it's not being sexually promiscuous, and sexual activity is not just something that should happen. It is the norm. Most kids aren't like that, despite what the media says. And there's always good statistics that they continue to bring back in. The presenters are awesome. I can't think of a bad presenter that I've had over the last 10 years that I've been bringing Project Respect into my class. I really like the Project Respect program and what it offers to the class.
Project Respect, one of the things that we provide is an after-school program for students, and that program serves students kindergarten through 12th grade. We focus on character traits, where we are teaching them using activities, really getting the students involved. We will talk about different traits each session. For example, boundaries, self-responsibility, self-discipline, making sure students understand the concept of identity and recognizing that they themselves matter, they have value and purpose.
They've done after-school programs in our school district before, where it's not just in the classroom. They've come in and met with after-school programs with parent groups, and just brings, as I mentioned, so many different programs and information to people in Northwest Ohio that quite honestly wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Project Respect, because sometimes they cover topics that other people won't cover or that would go by the wayside here in our small town, Northwest Ohio, that quite honestly needs to be talked about and maybe would get overlooked.
With the mentoring piece of that program, we partner with the teachers and the guidance counselors to identify students that could really use some extra encouragement, could use a friend to come alongside them to help them as they're walking through different issues in their lives. We assess the students based on the Search Institute's 40 developmental assets, and so that helps us understand some of the different needs that students may have, and then we also use their curriculum to teach and help support the deficiencies in some of the assets that maybe the students would score on. So that helps us know how we can best serve the students in the schools that we're partnering with.
So I think I'm going to keep bringing them in until, for as long as I can, because like I said, I think it's an important message that the kids get. Just information, understanding choices and goals, and as long as we can keep this going, I think it's a really good thing for the kids.
Earn While You Learn creates the opportunity to earn points or baby bucks to purchase new equipment such as cribs, car seats, and other baby necessities to help the starting or expanding family.
The points are for, they can use them to buy with their points a crib and mattress or a car seat or whatever they want that we have that's new. There's points assigned to each item that they can use them for. And then some of them will use them for extra diapers or extra formula if they don't have enough formula to get them through the week. So they can buy them with their points.
Yeah, every week we have like a video or even just the talking to one of the counselors here. And then it elaborates on how we're doing with Scarlett and what's our next step and for the next baby as well.
I also look forward to listening to the videos, like watching the videos, and I think it's every fourth visit you have like a prayer time, so then, I don't know, it's to me it's therapeutic, sometimes you just need something like that, talk about and just pray.
It was very cool to watch a girl who came in for her pregnancy test. Young girl, came in, had just gone through all the classes and had the baby. And then after the baby was born, she just kept coming. And she passed the point of points that she could earn. It's a cutoff of 25 classes, and then after 25 classes, they don't earn points anymore. But we always say they can come back. Well, this young lady did. She came back for 80 classes. And so it was fun because she had no reason that she had to come. She was just coming because she enjoyed the classes, and her son would come in and he'd always come find me. And so I thought it was neat that our classes are so educational and so helpful that even though they're not getting anything tangible from them, they're still coming. So I thought she was pretty special, that she would have that desire to want to keep coming.
Usually you do 2 lessons on either the baby developing, or you'll do some sort of informational video, and then the 3rd week will be spiritual, which is nice too.
Yes.
So, and then each counselor, usually you get to talk and discuss the lessons, and you get homework each week, and then so you'll talk about that when you come back. So
I mean, they give you stuff to do at home, so I mean, it's never a dull moment.
always keep you thinking.
Yep, always a Bible verse, and I mean, they help us out with a little bit of diapers too. I mean, every single week they give that to us. No, I mean, every week's different though. It's not always the same thing. It's always something new. And every week we learn something with Scarlett as well. And she's just growing and learning, and we're just trying to catch up with her.
And it's awesome too to have a place like where if you have, too much of something, or, extra clothes, or you have too many diapers and like the box is already open, I mean, you can donate it too, and it's going to be put to good use.
Oh, they make you want to come back. They make you want to learn more. And the older she gets, the more videos that helps out.
So, I mean, it's definitely great that it's here.
Mi nombre es Gladys. Yo crecí en México, me crié en México.
My name is Gladys. I grew up in Mexico. My husband also grew up in Mexico, but he was born in the United States and he has his U.S. citizenship. When we got married, he helped me get my passport and my residency. At first, we lived in California, but the cost of living was too high for us. My husband's cousin, who lives here in Ohio, suggested that we move here. My husband was able to find a job that can support us. He works with other Spanish-speaking people, and we live in a community with many other Hispanics. I first learned about the CPC from another client. She had asked me to accompany her on a visit. On that day, it was a spiritual lesson. Lydia gave the client a Bible and gave me one too. I was so impressed with the care and love shown at the CPC that I decided, if I ever get pregnant, this is where I want to go. When I became pregnant, I remembered the CPC and Lydia and how she talked with us in Spanish. At our third visit to the CPC, Lydia talked to us about Jesus and shared the gospel with us. Both my husband and I, we accepted Jesus Christ to be our Lord and Savior. At the CPC, we attended the Earn While You Learn parenting classes. And I was very thankful to be able to learn in Spanish what to expect in my pregnancy and how to care for my baby. The advice and help that I received at the CPC took the place of the advice and help that I could not receive from my mother since she lives so far away. When I went to the hospital to give birth to my baby, I felt so sad and lonely because no one there knew Spanish, and this was all new to me. I remembered the lessons I learned, and I knew what to do, and that gave me courage. I am very grateful for all the material baby items that we were able to earn by attending the classes. As our baby has grown into a toddler, we appreciate the parenting lessons on how to deal with his temperament, the changes he's going through, and also how to discipline him. The CPC has made a big difference in our lives, which has definitely changed us for the better. We feel more at ease at being parents. We have grown closer together as a couple. We are so very grateful for all the teachings we have received, not only in our pregnancy and for the care of our baby, but for how our faith has grown. We know now how to pray, and our faith has grown because of it. We are so thankful to God for how we have been blessed by the work of the CPC.
Que hemos sido bendecidos por el trabajo del CPC. Gracias.
The CPC, seeing the need for medical clinics to better assist the four-county area, started looking to provide better medical assistance to the area.
There was a real need for STD testing in our four-county area, but mostly the impetus was that our Project Respect program was teaching the kids in the classes each day that if they were sexually active, they needed to be tested. But we were sending them to agencies that were in opposition to what we taught. We were teaching abstinence until marriage, they were teaching contraception and selling them contraception. We didn't want to refer to them, but if you referred to doctors, the kids always said, no, I can't go to my doctor, my parents will find out. So we were trying to find a way for them to be tested where we could then be involved in helping them tell their parents. So we, for years, had looked at STD testing. The problem was we didn't have a medical director, we didn't have a nurse practitioner. Those are two things that we needed to have in order to operate. So we'd done some research into it, we knew what we needed, and it wasn't until 2006 that Stephanie Lloyd, who is a nurse practitioner and had been for years and had a number of degrees, said to us that she was feeling God's calling away from her clinic position, which was a very lucrative position, and she wanted to come and be our nurse practitioner. And shortly after that, Dr. Timothy Hogan agreed to be the medical director over this. I talked to him about it, and he said yes, he would be glad to do that. So between the two of them, we were able to start the clinic, and Stephanie was able to STD test in every one of our clinics, all four of them she was doing STD testing in just within years, a few years. So that's how it all started, and that gave us an option, you know, in referring people. We didn't even have to refer them anywhere else. We could refer them to our own clinics, and that's the way we got a lot of our referrals and made it easier for us to test people.
Ultrasound machines gave the ability to the CPC to show mothers their babies for the first time.
Now with the advent of ultrasound, you can see the beating heart there at 8, 9, 10 weeks of gestation. And to show that a young lady that there is a life there that is separate from hers, and that there are resources for her, that she does not have to end the pregnancy, but that she can carry it through. She has lots of resources, lots of help for her, emotional help, spiritual help, financial help, because you're dealing with a patient who is in crisis. That's why these are called crisis pregnancy centers. And these people really, they don't need judgment from us. They need wise help. You know what? We're just called to be ambassadors for the Lord and persuading men, you know, and we want to do our part to save lives, and whatever that takes.
A lot of our women who come here, they want their pregnancy. They want to see that heartbeat, and if they're afraid that it's not there, to see that total relief wash over them when they get to see the heartbeat beating and have the tears, and that is really special, and I couldn't imagine not getting to do that anymore. When we do ultrasounds, it's really kind of a sacred moment, because I am allowed to see this person who nobody else has seen yet in the whole world other than God. Just me and God have seen this child, and it just really made me look at the ultrasound so much differently, and the fact that that is sacred. That's like that's just something God and I are sharing until I turn that screen to show the parents.
For 30 years, the CPC has been saving lives, not only physically, but spiritually as well.
I'm measuring the success of our ministry by the stories I hear from clients who tell us that their lives were changed. I mean, they changed their mind about abortion. They carried a baby to term that they didn't want. Those are the kind of things that have eternal value. And when you see a client accept Christ, and maybe the boyfriend or the husband then does, or the family members, the parents sometimes accept Christ, because we work with the parents too. And then other family members accept Christ as they start going to church. So it's amazing the hundreds of people who have met Christ and made decisions for Christ because of the work that we're doing.
And I'm proud to be, I'm honored to be, and humbled to be a part of an organization that helps in some way bring people back to the Lord again.
We just want to thank everybody here again, because
Yeah, absolutely.
you've been a blessing in our life, and can't imagine it without you.
I think that we have raised up, or are raising up, a generation far more pro-life than when this started.
Prayer is really the key to everything you do in ministry, everything. You know, nothing is accomplished without God's help, nothing.